Hey guys, Cameron here from King Wixora, where today I'm doing schoolwork. If you look this black bar here, that is simply to protect my identity. It has my bookmarks and my tabs and my full name behind it, so it'll just stay as it is. I am streaming my schoolwork again because it's the only way I can motivate myself to do anything. This will also act as a Q&A. So, yeah. Hello YouTube viewer, I am streaming my schoolwork. This also acts as a Q&A. There's your rundown. Alright. All of the following are true about eating prior to exercise, except eating can cause gastric pain during exercise, eating increases the amount of oxygen available during exercise, eating reduces the amount of fat burned during exercise. Eating should be avoided within 2 hours of exercise. I think that's the one. The best way to prepare for a workout is to stretch key muscles first and follow the stretching with a jog to get the blood flowing to the muscles. Sure, sounds good to me. Which of the following aerobic activities has the highest impact on joints? Cycling, swimming, running, or walking? I believe it is running. When considering special needs acceptance guidelines, which of the following is not included? A one-size-fits-all approach should be maintained. Need-based boundaries should be established. Activity-based boundaries should be established. Everyone should be treated fairly. Sure. Sugary sports drinks are the best for hydration. No. Unless you ask Gatorade. If you ask Gatorade, then yeah, it's true. Which of the following is not true about experiencing pain during exercise? The motto, no pain, no gain, can be dangerous. You should stop exercising if you feel dizzy or unable to breathe. You should jog around to stabilize any pain during exercise. You should not feel pain during cardiovascular exercise. Which one is not true? I'm going to go with C. Hello, Twitch viewer. I am streaming my schoolwork. This is also a Q&A because this is the only way I can motivate myself to do anything. Modifying the rules for special needs athletes can mean allowing more attempts to accomplish the task, keeping the same rules for everyone, excluding those with special needs. I think it's A. Walking and running both have low impact on joints. False. Taking a group fitness class or cycling with others motivates many individuals to consider exercising. Sounds good enough to me. Which of the following is not a benefit of swimming? Joint support in water, full body exercise, good exercise, cross training, burns less than 400 calories an hour. I think it's that one. Submit. Okay. How'd I do? 70%? Good enough. Moving on. I have no idea if this audio is going to go through.
Hello and welcome back. Let's take a look at our warm-up. We see that there's a marathon being run. Well, how do you get your cardiorespiratory fitness to the place where you can run a marathon? You can't just go from couch potato to running a marathon in one day, right? That's too much of a change. So how are we going to use the exercise principle of overload to increase our cardiorespiratory fitness? That's what we're going to talk about in Section 1 of Developing Cardiorespiratory Fitness. Now, there's 3 objectives in this lesson. The first objective being to apply the exercise principle of overload to improve cardiovascular health. The second objective is to describe how the exercise principle of progression leads to improved cardiovascular health. And the third objective is to differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic exercise using the exercise principle of specificity. Now, in this first section, we're going to be talking about how overload can be used to improve your cardiovascular health. So let's talk about what the overload principle of exercise is in the first place. The human body adapts to anything you throw at it, whether it be stress of an exercise or the stress of a job. Now, the key is that your body is always going to adapt to that level no matter what it is. So you've always got to push yourself past the level that you're at in order to improve. So for instance, let's say you run 1 mile each day. After a while, running 1 mile is not going to be a big deal, but you're still going to have trouble running 26 miles if all you're doing is running 1 mile. So you've got to gradually either increase the speed with which you run that mile or the distance that you're running. And each time you push yourself past what your limits are, you're going to improve by that much. And you've got to gradually progress upward. That's overload. So effective exercises for increasing your cardiorespiratory fitness include, but aren't limited to, running, plyometrics, which are explosive kind of exercises, swimming, cycling. Weight training will actually increase your cardiorespiratory fitness, and basketball as well. And I want to give you a couple of examples so you can see exactly what I mean. The times are not exact. Sometimes you won't progress at this level, but the principle is the same. So let's say you're running. During week 1, you run 1 mile, and the pace is a 10-minute mile. Perfect. You do that 3 times a week, just like you're supposed to. And then week 2, you're at the point where you can run 1 mile pretty easy. So in week 2, you run 1.2 miles, and you still do that at that 10-minute pace. You've just overloaded your body. You're challenging yourself again. And in week 3, you run 1.5 miles, and you increase that pace just a little bit. Now you're challenging yourself in 2 different ways. And so your body is going to generally adapt to that, and you're going to have to go even longer and even harder to see improvement. Same thing for stair climbing. Say you can climb 10 flights of stairs in that first week at 30 seconds per flight. That seems a little fast for week 1 to me, but maybe you're already a very well-conditioned athlete. During week 2, you're going to do 20 flights of stairs 3 times a week at 30 seconds per flight. And then during week 3, you'll be ready to do 30 flights of stairs even faster at 25 seconds a flight. So as your body gets used to what you're throwing at it, you're going to have to throw in some curveballs and add resistance or decrease the amount of time that you're giving yourself by increasing your pace. Same thing holds true for swimming. Maybe you'll do some 10 freestyle laps and increase that to 15 the second week and make 20 butterflies in the third week at a faster pace. Same thing in tennis or for other sports. You have a gradual time increase and you increase the effort or the intensity of the actual exercise, going from double shots to rally single shots. So for our cool down, what we want to realize is that cardiorespiratory fitness is only going to improve if we push ourselves past what our limits are. We've always got to go beyond our limits, but we've got to keep in mind that we need to go beyond our limits gradually. And that gradual progression is what we want to talk about for thinking ahead. How do we pace ourselves to improve our cardiorespiratory fitness? Hello and welcome back. Let's take a look at our warm-up. And we were asking the question, hey,
This is a
how are we
reaction
going to
channel now.
gradually increase our loads and make sure that we're progressing at a steady pace? Well, that's what we want to ask ourselves. How are we going to make the exercise principle of progression help us increase our cardiovascular and cardiorespiratory fitness? Well, that's going to be what we talk about during Section 2 of Developing Cardiorespiratory Fitness. And there are 3 objectives in this lesson. The first was about the principle of overload and how that can help us increase our cardiorespiratory fitness and our cardiovascular fitness. The second objective was to describe how the exercise principle of progression leads to improved cardiovascular health. And the third objective asked us to differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic exercise using the exercise principle of specificity. And in this section, we're going to be dealing with that second objective, using the principle of progression to improve our cardiovascular health. So first we have to talk about what the exercise principle of progression is. And progression is the optimal amount of increase in your exercises over time. And you have a lot of variety in the ways that you can increase your progression in order to make your exercises harder each time in order to make sure that we are overloading our bodies and adapting in the way that we need to. And the variables that we can adjust include frequency, intensity, time, and type. So, in an effective progression for a running program, we might start at week 1 running 1 mile at a pace of 10 minutes per mile. So in the third week, we'll run 1.5 miles at 10 minutes a mile. So that's a pretty good progression. We are slowly increasing the amount of work we do. In fact, we might not even hardly feel ourselves getting stronger, faster, and increasing our lung capacity and all these other great physical changes that we'll get from increasing our cardiorespiratory fitness. But boy, we're going to get there. And in week 5, by the time we have been running for a little over a month, we're going to be able to run 2 miles at a 9.5 mile a minute pace, and it's going to seem like nothing to us. So that's a great example of an effective progression. An ineffective progression would be to run 1 mile during week 1, run 1 mile each day during week 10, run 1 mile a day during week 20. Because you're never overloading your body, there is no progression. Instead of gradually getting stronger, you're staying flat. You want to make sure that you're always pushing yourself past what your limits are and using overload and progression to make yourself stronger. So an effective progression in swimming might be during the course of your program to increase from 10 to 20 butterfly laps over the course of a month and a week, and increase your pace just by half a minute per lap. An ineffective program might say that, okay, during week 1, I'm going to swim 10 freestyle laps at 3 minutes a lap. And then during week 2, you say, okay, 30 freestyle laps at 2 minutes per lap. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's way too much of an increase. That's not a gradual progression. That's a very, very intense progression. And it could lead to a serious injury because your body hasn't yet adapted to that first kind of stress that you were putting on it. You want to make sure that this is much less. A much better progression would be something like 20 or even 15, depending on what kind of strength gains you're seeing from this week one stuff. And you'll probably even want to do this weeks 1 through 3 and change this to 4 through 6. And of course, 100 freestyle laps at a 1 minute per lap basis, that's just dreaming. You're never going to reach that goal, and you're going to get discouraged trying.
Hey Slavic, what's up? Oh, you're not here anymore. Okay.
Make sure you keep this stuff realistic. Make sure you're not going too far out of the realm of possibility, because you'll be really frustrated if you cannot meet, let's say 2.5, if you can't meet what your goals are. So for our cool down, when we're exercising with the principle of progression, we're either going to increase the frequency with which we exercise, we're going to increase the intensity of the exercise while we're doing it, we're going to increase the time that we spend exercising, and we're going to vary the type of exercise that we do in order to overcome any plateaus that we naturally reach through the training program. And we're going to make sure that we're resting between our workouts so that we can recover properly and keep increasing our progression. So as we're thinking ahead, what's the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise, and what does it have to do with the thinker?
Alright, that's video 2. Time for video 3. This is extremely engaging content. So let me make my camera a bit bigger just to prove the point. Extremely engaging content.
Hello and welcome back. Remember last time we asked the question, and as we look at our warm-up, how is the thinker related to the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise? Well, I'm afraid I tricked you a little bit. It's kind of a pun. You were just thinking about the difference, and he's the thinker, and, well, that's what you get. So we want to talk about the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise, and we also want to talk about how the principle of specificity can help increase our cardiorespiratory fitness in Section 3 of Developing Cardiorespiratory Fitness. So we have 3 objectives in this lesson. The first objective is to apply the exercise principle of overload to improve cardiovascular health. The second objective is to describe how the exercise principle of progression leads to improved cardiovascular health. And the third objective is to differentiate between aerobic and anaerobic exercise using the exercise principle of specificity. That's what we're going to be talking about during this section. So first we want to talk about what the principle of specificity is. when you are designing your exercise plan or your exercise training package, you want to have specific goals, and you want to build towards those goals over time. And you don't want to waste a lot of time doing exercises that won't help you meet your goals unless they're going to help you meet overall fitness goals, and unless they're stepping stones to those larger goals. And the other part of the principle of specificity is that you have to do the kinds of exercises that will increase your health in the areas that you want to improve in. If you want to get huge biceps, you're not going to do a lot of squats because it's not going to help. If you want to become really, really strong in your upper body, you're not going to go running for, train for a marathon because it's not going to help. You've got to match the exercise that you're doing to the area of improvement and to your goals. So now let's talk about anaerobic exercise. Anaerobic exercise is short, high-intensity exercises. These are exercises that you cannot maintain for more than a few seconds or a minute or two. And the energy to do these comes from stored sugars in your muscles. And your muscles are not using oxygen to help metabolize those sugars to turn it into energy. So the muscles are doing all of the hard work, and it doesn't require that extra oxygen. And it'll help, these kind of exercises will help build strength and muscle mass, as opposed to aerobic exercise, which is a sustained exercise that's really going to elevate your heart rate. And it requires a large amount of oxygen because the oxygen goes into your muscles and helps metabolize those glucoses into extra energy. So aerobic exercises are exercises that you can maintain over a longer period of time. And they help build endurance and cardiorespiratory fitness. And they'll actually also help increase your red blood cell count. So when you're setting goals, you want to use the principle of specificity to plan your aerobic and anaerobic workouts in order to increase the area of fitness that matches your goals. So, for example, your aerobic fitness goals might be to run a 7-minute mile, might be to climb a local mountain in 20% less time than your previous time, or to cycle 20 miles in 90 minutes. Each of those requires a long, sustained effort, and so they're aerobic goals. It would be appropriate to do these goals if you wanted to increase your cardiorespiratory fitness or your muscular endurance. Then there's the anaerobic goal examples, including sprinting half a mile in less time than the previous week, walking lunges 3 sets of 10 twice a week, and doing squat jump nonstop for 1 minute. These are all very intense exercises that you're not going to sustain over a long period of time. Instead, you're going to do these very quickly, and you're going to use a lot of energy straight from your muscles. So those are anaerobic exercises appropriate for increasing your muscular strength and endurance. So for our cool down, we talked about the difference between our aerobic and our anaerobic exercises. And we talked about how we can use the principle of specificity to target those areas that we want to improve in and those health-related fitness goals that we have set for ourselves in order to increase our cardiorespiratory health. So now we're at our lesson summary, and we want to talk about what we learned during this lesson. And I'm going to do this a little different. I usually draw it all in one section and then go to the next. We're going to start, we talked about overload, we talked about progression, and we talked about specificity. And these all really work together. Overload says you've got to push your body harder each week in order to increase your fitness level. So the first week you're pushing the big rock, and the next week you're going to have to use the even bigger rock, or you're going to have to do it faster or in less time. You've got to push your body beyond your limits because your body will adapt to whatever you throw at it. And then there's progression. Progression is about making sure that you have that steady, gradual increase so that you can see that you're improving in strength quite a bit from the start to the finish, but you're not pushing yourself too hard. You're not going too far, too fast. And then we have specificity. You've got to improve in the areas, you've got to do the kinds of exercises that will help you improve in the areas that you want to improve. Doing leg exercises won't help build your arm strength, and doing aerobic exercises won't help build your muscular strength. So you've got to match the exercise type to your exercise goals. So I hope you learned a lot about the principles of overload, progression, and specificity during this lesson.
And that's video 3. Highly engaging content, I once again say. The article provides a complete overview for fitness routines, explain the second principle of training, and the balance one needs to find. All right. Okay. The correct answer is just no. Mike, at work. At work. No. Oh. All right. Cool. Next activity. I think I'm actually gonna. Which of the following is not an element of progression? All right. Save and exit. All right. I think we can call the stream there. Okay. Yeah. I have no information showing. Wonderful. I am going to move that over though. Wonderful. Up there. You can go up there. Nice. All right. I'm going to call it because I have work to get to. And because this is the most boring shit in the goddamn world. I'll probably be back tonight.